Hello everybody, welcome to another build showcase for Mistfall Hunter. Today we're gonna be looking into Seer, Reverent Seer, so meaning the ranged one, but with a twist. Like the last time, we'll not be focusing on support, this time we'll be focusing on damage. We're gonna be looking into the skills, talents, the affixes, and also some gameplay that you will find at the end of the video. So you can feel free as well to skip to that part if you want to see just the gameplay and how it will go. Starting with the talents, and as I mentioned, we're going with the Reverent Seer. We definitely want to keep our Punishment Rune. That's our main damage dealer. The damage it deals is pretty high and it's really consistent with a good range. Next up, I pick up the Burst Rune, but you can feel free to use something else. I use this for damage again, but you could maybe if you're playing solo or if you're focusing maybe a bit more on PvE, you could change a couple of this. You definitely want the Punishment Rune, that's a non-negotiable. But if you don't like the Burst Rune, then maybe you can pick the Windwalker Rune. That will help you with dash distance. It can be really useful in case you are deciding to play solo. And if you're playing solo, then Intimidation Rune is also a must. Now, if you're playing with teams, then I will go with the Burst Rune. You definitely want to stay in the back. You want to have the Intimidation Rune to get people away from you just in case, and also to do some damage to any enemies in general. But the Burst Rune is the best one if you're just focusing on pure damage. However, just keep in mind that if you're focusing more on PvP or if you're playing solo, then maybe you want to use something else. You could even use the Binding Rune as well, and change it for something if you feel comfortable with it, and you can play around a little bit. Let's with the Divine Arts, you surely want Wind Surge. This is also a must. It can get people away from you, it can stun people as well with the proper talents. And I have the Blinding Rune. From practice, I could tell that it's more useful in team fights where people don't really know what's going on, where there's too much going on at the moment and people cannot really focus on you and what you're doing. They'll have to be focusing on everything else. But if you're playing solo, from my experience, it is a bit easier to dodge, even with the perks that we'll be seeing in a moment. In case you don't like it, then you can just continue with your healing art for a bit of support or maybe some extra healing. Quick burst healing when playing solo, or your shield. Shield is also a good option. Going on with the talents, we're picking the right side this time. For damage, this one is defense and healing and support, this one is damage, so we pick keeping the potent wounding, holding R1, consuming more psionic energy to get a higher damage multiplier, and then after firing 2 enhanced orbs, the next one will have a greatly increased flight speed and tracking effect. Works really well, you will probably see it in a couple of the clips that you will see later. Next, synergy, also a must. This one will synergize with your Punishment Rune and your damage will be way higher as long as you're within the range of the rune. Sustain. So this one, it recovers psionic energy after landing a critical hit. The more psionic energy the orb consumes, the more it recovers. It is a critical hit. You know, critical hits are when aiming to the head, so that's pretty simple. You're gonna be needing a lot of psionic energy. That's why I picked this one. But you can feel free as well to add maybe self-preservation in case you want to play a bit more defensively, or maybe miraculous healing, something around those lines. Then I enhance my Blinding Rune as it is the one that I'm using, but again, if you don't like using the Blinding Rune, then you will have 2 extra talent points. The first one, it recovers psionic energy the more players are actually instructed with the Vision. Vision Plunder, what it does is that enemies will get blinded regardless if they're looking at the construct, as long as they're within certain range. Next is the Powerful Wind. This is also a must, I will say. Unlike Sorcerer, Seer doesn't really have many close range options for a range class, and you want people to get away from you, so this one increases the knockback distance. And Opportunity Strike, you will saw it at the first clip. What it does is that after somebody gets hit with Wind Surge, they get stunned for a period of time, and if they get hit again with the Enhanced Orb, so holding the R1 in this case for PlayStation, then they will also get stunned and you will be recovered. They will also just get stunned. So you saw it at the beginning, it's really powerful, it's really useful for PvP and for PvE as well. But again, if you want to play around with the talents a little bit, then you could change the Blinding Rune and maybe get some extra healing, maybe get something else related to your other runes. Like this one, ally units within the Windwalker rune area gain increased dodge energy recovery. And you know, you only have like 3 dodges with Seer, so it's definitely a game changer, should you decide to. Going next with the Affixes and your wines. So you definitely want your creation as well. You want that rune to last for as long as it can. Seamless is also really useful. Again, having those cooldowns depending on as well on your setup, then it will be different. And you definitely 100%, this is non-negotiable for the damage one. I know I said probably for the one focus on support it might not be as needed to get it as high, but in this case you want to do as much damage as you can. So you definitely need eloquence. It will also help you with those 1v1s, and not being interrupted by minor impacts as well is also a game changer. You could keep Tenacious if you want to keep the healing arts as well. I mean, it's always useful. A Spirit Shield as well if you decide to go with the shield playing. Well, Curse is good. It increases the debuff time. If you're using the Blinding Rune, the Blinding Art thing. So if you blind the enemies, then it will last for longer. Curse will be a really good one. Elusive as well, reducing the energy cost, especially with a class that can barely dodge, I will say is always useful, and range of course is a good option for damage. Gonna be taking a look at the camp really quick, so you can see a quick demonstration on how the skills are actually working. I have explained this in the previous video for the healing guide, but if you get your punishment rune, you will see that it will just throw one ray. If you're within the range and you attack, an additional one will also be thrown as well, an enhanced one every time. And if you press your wind surge and then hit a charge one, they will get stunned. Remember that you need to focus a bit as much as you can on critical hits, aiming to the head, as that will be restoring your psionic energy. Otherwise, you will probably just run out of psionic energy really quick. It only takes like 3 charge ones, and the way to get it back is by just throwing light attacks or blinding the enemies as well. So that is pretty much the end of the video, and you can stay until the end so you can see the gameplay and demonstration for against PvE and PvP with teams, 1v1s, and yep, that will be it. See you on the next one, and if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Bye bye. Right, this was the first team fight. It was really early in the match. Start by placing a rune right here as a way to recon, making sure that nobody passes by, and you can see that the mercenary push just right away. They just have no shield and try to finish us as quick as possible, but our Black Arrow sent them behind, and then the rest were trying to flank. I don't have much to say about this one, except that I probably should have used the Blinding Rune a bit more. I don't think I used it enough, I didn't get enough advantage of it. On the other fight that we'll be seeing later on, then I definitely learned from my mistake and use it way more. You will see how that actually changed the pace of battle. It is important to mention that whenever you execute somebody, you will actually be restoring some health, which is what I was trying to do here. However, I got interrupted unfortunately and I couldn't really recover. I had to rely on my Springhorn again, and that was the second one that I used in the match, which left me with only one more for the next team fights or boss battles that we had. This second fight, I'm proud of the performance. We heard enemies right after the first one. We can see the chests are open right there. They just killed the enemies in here and they completed the mission. So I went ahead and rotated. I let my enemy... I shouldn't be rotating us here, however, I do know that there was a way to drop down behind them without them even realizing it. So I drop my rune immediately, and as soon as I go down, I go ahead and throw my Blinding Rune. I should have done it before. I just did it after because I wasn't sure how many enemies will be in there, but we got lucky and all of 3 were in there. All of them got stuck in within the runes and with the blinding effects, and that was like the quickest cleanup we could do. Nice job. This is one of the boss battles that start the fight with the Punishing Rune to start some big damage. However, I think you should probably be starting with the Punishing Rune in case they are unaware, as the casting for that one takes longer. For the rest of the fight, you will just see me placing the runes accordingly, avoiding them from getting destroyed, and placing the burst rune whenever I have the chance, as well as the Punishing one, staying within range as well for the extra damage, and doing my best to aim for the head, as I will be getting more critical hits and restoring more psionic energy. As soon as we got out there, we encountered another team. They had 2 sorcerers with them, I think. Not sure if there was a third sorcerer as well. But they had like a high ground. They had the bell there already, so I ended up giving the call out to the team just to retreat because they were a complicated team. They had the high ground. There was uncomfortable to push them. They were right away to escape, and it was not really worth risking everything for that one. Remember, this is an extraction game, and the most important part is that you managed to escape, which he ended up doing in the Soul Ferry. This was a chaos lobby. So you need to actually kill at the very least 2 players each of you, or find at least 2 bodies that have soul thread so you can escape. Or just escape early, either by doing the highest tier mission, or by going to the smuggler, or just the trees before they actually expire. And as we managed to strat, you can see everything went well. We had good stats. Special shout out to my teammates. They did an amazing job keeping people off me and also making sure to kill them. That black arrow was insane as well. So GG's guys. Finally, I ended up challenging the Mistlord. This was a solo lobby. It was not chaos, it was just normal. But here you can see how much potential Seer has as a DPS. The damage output that you can get from him is actually insane, especially if you know how to land those critical hits and hitting those edges at all times. The boss just had no chance, she died pretty quickly. And next, in the end, you will be finding a solo 1v1 versus a sorcerer, the clip that you saw at the start. I will be leaving it at the timestamps, and you can feel free to skip it as well if you don't want to look at the whole boss fight.
Irresistible. Is there truly a harmony between soul and flesh? So, we've done it. We've created.
Quit standing around and ring the car.
mother's embrace. Mortals have no right to eternal rest.
The thrones of gods lie empty. Go forth and see, O souls without love or hate.
I lied, we actually had another encounter. Right after I killed the Mistlord, there was this black arrow here waiting for me. He was just waiting for somebody camping around, seeing if he could get somebody there. Little did he know that he will find one of the most annoying seers that he will ever meet. He had the high ground, he had everything, but I ended up throwing the Blinding Rune there. It makes on effect. You can see the damage output is actually pretty crazy. So he panicked. I unfortunately messed things up and couldn't really finish the job quickly. So I almost throw completely and die here as I was pushing as an idiot. I should have healed at that point before even trying to push again. In the end, I managed to kill him. He was annoying as all black arrows actually are. Just trying to get away, and this is completely understandable. Again, this is a range class, so you can be complaining. Here I throw my Blinding Rune at the door right at him as a trap, so that will buy me some time. But again, you know, this is solo, so he had more visibility and he had more awareness of what was I doing, unlike in trios where a Blinding Rune can come out of nowhere and then just another teammate will come and smack you with a big hammer. In the end, buddy ended up dying, but I almost died too because of those stupid bleeding arrows. Last but not least, this is a Chaos lobby. I ended up finding this Starlight Sorcerer. You can see the damage on his end is actually pretty insane. We are both range classes with little dodges. It was an annoying fight, it was really long. I will be leaving the rest of the fight without much commentary. But you can see that pretty much I was trying to predict where he was going to throw my runes at him, especially the burst runes. And I ended up messing up a couple times. He should have died there, but I messed it up by getting into the skill that he threw at me. And he messed up a couple times, I messed up a couple times. This was a pretty long fight. We actually tried to disengage in the end, but I came back to him and ended up victorious.